everyone, Megan here. I have Annet McCroskey with Artistic Endeavors. She is a wonderful talent manager based out of Los Angeles. And I was going to pick her brain today about what a typical day is like for a manager in the business. In previous interviews, we've talked about what an agent does, but we've never really delved into what a manager actually does. So let's start there. Annette, can you run through maybe what a typical day looks like for you?
All right. So, well, tomorrow is Monday. So we call it Madness Mondays because all the tapes from, that were recorded over the weekend will come in. And so I always watch everyone's tapes. Most kids also have an agent, right? And so, but most of the time the agent doesn't watch the tapes. They just don't have the time because they have hundreds and hundreds of clients, right? And so a lot of times if you don't have a manager, you just send your tapes in and you don't even know if it was good. Was it good enough? Could I have done something different? So if it wasn't good, where I think you have a chance, I'll have you retape with notes. And so I'll tell you, you know what? Scene one was good. Scene two needs a little changing. A lot of times it might be great and we just send it in and, we send it to the casting directors. We have deadlines. Most of the time it's like 10 a.m. Monday. So we're like scrambling to get it all in. And then a lot of times there might be, problems on set or somebody misses a flight to fly to Europe or Canada to shoot. And um we would talk people through things like if there's a problem with the script or they're uncomfortable with something, right? Where we kind of explain it or we turn stuff down as well. And but yeah, we basically, and then we're throughout the whole day, we submit people on projects with the agent's blessing. So we get auditions, the agent gets auditions, and we, tell casting why they should see you, even if you're new, even if you haven't done anything, because everyone starts somewhere, right? And so I'm really, I would say, known for getting new people in the door who don't have much, because over the years, casting directors trust your taste. They trust if you say somebody's really good that they truly are and they have a chance. And so they most of the time take a chance when we beg them to see somebody. But yeah.
Yeah, when you pitch someone, they know
Mhm.
your reliability from all the amazing work and people you've given them in the past.
Mhm.
Then they're like, okay, even though this person doesn't have credits yet, I'll see them. I'll take a look.
Right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So we just really fight to get you into the door. Um, because there's usually what, anywhere between 1,000 to 10,000 something submissions for one role, and they see around 30 to 100 people. So for you to get an audition, you're already winning. You already you've already been picked, right? And so it's important that you show up and that you're prepared, because somebody else would have given anything to be there and to get in front of casting. So I think it's really important.
Yeah. Now, when do you think it's important for a talent to get a manager?
I think there's different like opinions. Most of my clients who now are on their own Disney shows or Nickelodeon shows or HBO and all of, as series regulars, almost all of them, I would say about 95% of them, they had me as a manager from the very beginning, from day one. Because, like I mentioned earlier, if you have only an agent, they have hundreds and hundreds of people. So you might be one of, I'll make it up, but one of 20 or 30 blonde girls. And a lot of times casting will say, submit your best only. So they will submit their two or submit your two best only or three best only, but they have 20 or 30 kids who are the same, similar look, similar age, basically. Um, and so it's not quite as selective for the agent, but as a manager, we have a lot less clients per category. So we will fight because we only have two, so of a type or three, sometimes only one, and we get you in. And the agent doesn't have time to answer your questions generally. If you have questions about the script, or we give you a lot of times more background information about a project, but because a lot of things are titled Untitled Warner Brothers movie. And we're like, hey, it's actually the next Jurassic Park, or the next or a sequel for something, where we give you the insight of what it is, or the vibe, or some press articles, things like that. So you have more research when we can get our hands on it, or we send you the script, the full script of the entire project when we can. And so there's a lot more hand-holding as a manager than an agent would ever have time. Um, we also, if there are problems on set or emergencies, we step in and we handle it. And so you as a parent, and I'm talking to kid actors and parents now, or you as an actor, if you're an adult, that you don't be, so you're not seen as difficult. So you can always say like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like they'd ask you to do a stunt and you just feel really not safe. Or there's a situation, then you can say, like, oh, my manager told me I have to call her and about stuff like that. And I'm really new, so I'm not sure. Can you talk to her? So we're like a buffer in between. And so we're the ones that can step in. We can be difficult. We can solve the problem versus you trying to figure it out on your own. And it just really helps.
Yeah, so that someone isn't getting taken advantage of or asking to do more for what they're being
Mhm.
paid and things like that.
Right.
Um,
Or
it-
something that crosses the moral boundary of things as well. Because
yes.
a lot of times it's put as like, oh, I hope you don't mind. And then you feel like, oh, I don't want to be the difficult one. But I'm like, oh, my manager told me, and I really want to, I just want to make sure. So you look more clueless, yet they know they can't cross certain lines because you have somebody who's your advocate and who's there for you. Yeah.
You've got
And
backup. Good cop,
right,
bad
right. And
cop.
then, yeah, and then also if you don't have an agent, a lot of times agents want to make sure they only sign people who are developed, who know what they're doing, who are vetted, right? That you're reliable and all of that. And so an agent, I mean, sorry, a manager will also help you get an agent.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly. So, like you said, it's important for a talent to have a manager right from the beginning. Like you said, your clients have been with you since pretty much day one, since they started in the industry, and they're continuing on. And if they came in with an agent, then that's great. Now they've got a team with you. Or if they didn't have an agent, then you can help them with that and guide them. And I believe the same thing. I think it's so important for people to have a manager, because like you said, there's so many questions that come up, and you guys have that insider information. And I always say, like, I'm kind of like your pseudo first manager, where I help guide you, but there's nothing like someone that's super connected, to the industry, that operates as a true manager that can help guide your career. And it's so important to get that on your team, even if you don't think that you have anything to manage at this point. If you're brand new,
Right.
I think it's
I think that's a big misconception where you think like, oh, I don't have anything to manage. But here's the thing
Mhm.
is you want to do things right from the beginning and not learn through trial and error and then you look back and oh, if I would have only known this, I could have been already in movies, but I just didn't know what I was doing. And so if you fly by the seat of your pants and trying to figure it out the hard way, I think things take a much longer than when you have a manager. And then
Yes.
the manager also assembles a great team. So if you have a big, a big offer on the table for a giant movie or or a sequel, right? Or a series regular role where potentially 6 years of your life are more or less determined for you, right? Because they sign you on for many years, as long as it doesn't get canceled, right? But we make sure we connect you to the right coaches, to the right entertainment attorney to do the deal, especially when there's music deals, like you have High School Musical and there's recording deals attached to it,
Right.
things like that. So you really want to make sure that you're protected. You have somebody who really truly cares about you. And and your well-being and supports you. And then your tastes change as you get older too, or as you discover new shows. And so we try to really facilitate and make sure that you're getting the right projects um, that truly fulfill you and make you happy versus just a bunch of little stuff to cut your teeth on. And I think it
Yeah,
helps
just saying yes to everything.
right, exactly, because you have to be selective
Guiding
because
the career the right way
right.
that it needs to be, that's going to push you to that next level or give you an indie credit or something that's going to give you some, more street cred if you've been doing a lot of, more uppity stuff or whatever.
Yeah, and then, to just change course at times when you have done one thing. Let's say you've been on a soap opera, and I've had it happen with a client who was nominated 3 times for an Emmy, won one time, and then we changed to a completely different project because although she enjoyed one thing, she wanted to do more and go to the next level. So my job was to really change casting's mind, and she's a lot more than a soap
Right,
actress. And in
exactly.
the
So
end,
she's
she had
not
her
stuck in that
yeah.
genre.
Yeah, and then she did a ton of series and Disney shows and things like that, and then got her own really action series on a major network, and she was the main girl on it. I mean, the series regular actress. And so you change kind of from one thing to another to something completely where you're almost unrecognizable. But those are the roles that then get you recognized, right? Because those are the true acting jobs. And so to really adjust with the times and with your tastes, and that's all really important.
What makes a talent good for you and your management company to sign them and to bring them on?
Yeah, I would say not just for me, but pretty much I think all the agents and managers agree with me because we're kind of all very similar of what is needed. So I think the main thing is great communication. So you get an audition, you need to confirm it and say like, I got it. Hey, I have a question about this. I'm not understanding what does this mean? Or I'm uncomfortable with it. Can you find out more what they truly mean by it? Because sometimes, the role, for example, might say, she has a shaved head. And there's this girl with this beautiful long hair. It's like, I don't want to shave my head. And I'm like, all right, let me find out if they truly mean it or if they would consider, a wig. Because I had a girl many years ago did not want to audition for 11 on Stranger Things because before anyone knew it was Stranger Things because it was just a pilot, right? And so she turned it down and didn't want to do it. And then afterwards, like, oh my gosh, for that, I totally would have done it. Right. And then, but you don't know. You never know what something can turn into or if it's going to be a big hit, right? And
Yeah,
so
hindsight
I
is
think,
2020.
right. So it's kind of, I think the great communication instead of just like, hey, I'm not into it, turning it down, passing. Oh, I'm just passing. Why are you passing? Always let us know why, because then we can also get to know you better, right? Because it might be something I I don't know, you might be very, very Christian and don't want to do certain things, right? That have to do with witchcraft or something like that. And we
Right.
respect it, and it's totally fine, but it's better if you tell us the reason why, so then in the future we can just avoid those things. And or you might be totally into that, which is also totally fine with me. And so it's so being on time, answering your emails, making sure you let me know when you go on a trip to Paris or you're on a cruise ship and we try to desperately get a hold of you because you booked something, but you forgot to tell us. Because then we don't look great either if we can't get a hold of you, right? And we fought really hard to get you into the door. And you probably spend money on coaching and a lot of time and all of that to prepare for the audition. So we want to make sure that you're available and that or if you're not, which is also fine, but you just have to tell us. So I think the communication, being prepared for you to train as well, I think that's really important because acting is still like a muscle and there's only so much that can be taught, but I would say compare it to sort of soccer, right? So if you're only showing up for your big soccer tournament and you never practice ever until you show up to the big tournament, you're probably not going to be very good at it, right? And so for acting, it's the same thing. The training is so important. And so you know what chemistry reads are, so you know how to even classes over Zoom are great because most of the auditions for film and television are over Zoom these days. And so how do you establish chemistry with another character when they're a little square on the screen? How do you have that connection? And so I think that's really, really important. So you don't look rusty because we can tell. We're like, oh, what classes are you in? Because it doesn't look like you're in any. And do I have a couple clients who have never been in classes? But yeah, but it's very, very rare. I would say 99.9% of people, they have taken classes at some point because you need to know the technical stuff um and how to really have the emotion without looking like you're pushing for the emotion. So it flows. And I think those things are super, super important. And just be a good person, be nice. I think that's important. Help each other out. Um, as actors, be each other's readers, and then return the favor as well. When you have to do auditions over, you can have a reader over Zoom as well. Um, and be courteous and nice on set. I think that's important. What else? Give back. I'm very, very much about that. um have a really good attitude. Don't be all snooty when you show up and
And
enjoy
easy
it
to
and
talk
just
to, easy to work with, I think is key, to get
Mhm.
noticed. And like you said, for somebody to come on board with you or really with any agent, they have to be a good conversationalist and just be comfortable in their own skin and be able to show up and, like you said, be a part of a group, because you're always working in a group situation with so many different personalities that you've got to be able to adjust yourself. And I think if you're able to do that and you have a good heart in general,
Yeah,
you
that's
make things.
that's really important. Be really likable. That people are like, oh, I really like them. I don't know what it is, but there's something about them that I really like. And so being really and knowing your uniqueness, I think that's really important. What makes you different? So don't try to be the next Selena Gomez because we already have one. So don't try to copy other actors, really try to find out who you are. And so I think for me, it's really important that actors have a full life besides acting. So they're not just an empty shell showing up. Because then you can also weather the storm because you'll have a lot of auditions and then nothing. And then you're going to be at a very difficult age category. Um, which is like 13, 14, 15. There's basically mainly just Disney and Nickelodeon because everything else goes legal 18 to play younger. So if you have like use that time when it's slower, there's still things out there, but it's just not as many things because they want to hire older people to play younger so they don't have to, pay for a teacher and lose 3 hours for school and all of that. But you can use
Deal with
that
the
time.
parents.
Yeah, you can use that time to train and get new skills. Like earlier, there was a girl and she said she knows ASL. And I was like, oh, that's very interesting. There's not a lot of people who have that, right? Another one I think was ukulele. I'm like, oh, that's really so those are the things that stick out in our minds of what makes you unique as an actor.
Mhm.
Because we just never know when there's a special skill that's being asked and it gives us something to remember them by too.
Absolutely. Yep. It's that one thing, and you're like, you might not remember the name, but you'd be like, the ukulele girl.
Right,
I remember
right,
her.
right, exactly. Exactly. And so I think and listen to our advice, especially when it comes like to headshots. We give you like a whole list usually of, I don't know, 20 different photographers. You can pick whoever you want. You can do your own research, what you like, but don't go like, oh, my roommate's cousin's brother's friend has a camera and I decided to shoot with them. Can you just try them out? And we're like, no. And the agent won't go for it either because pretty much every single time it's a waste of time. And then because that's your calling card, that's all you have, right? You don't have a resume in the beginning, you have nothing. And so your picture has to stand out and it needs to look like you and it needs to be great and catches our attention because otherwise you're not
And
going to get into the
competitive
door.
to the industry too. It has
Mhm.
to, when it's up on the board, it's got to look, that it can hold its own with all the other actors that do have the experience, as opposed to some, photo that's just, like you said, your uncle
Yeah,
took
because
it
they're
because.
not going to click on it on your photo to see who your agent or manager is if they don't like your picture first. So that's important. So do take our advice as far as coaching and things like that go. Because we usually only, not usually, we always only recommend people who we know get results
Right.
that give us bookings or coached a client who booked some massive studio project. And so we give you those recommendations for a reason because we know they work. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
My last question is, I want to get your take on how you feel about parents taking over the management position for their child actors. It's been happening my entire career. Parents think, oh, I'm going to take it over. And they really sort of hustle their children out there and trying to get auditions for them. And then some even take it a step beyond and try and start their own businesses because maybe their child has had a little bit of success in the industry and then they think that they can replicate a business model of a very successful management company, and they think that they can do it all and bring on clients of their own. And I'm seeing a lot of that pop up also on social media. What do you think about that as far as these parents
Well,
taking matters into their own hands?
my question is, okay, what projects are the people who they quote unquote manage in? What jobs have they gotten them? Because usually it's usually not very healthy. Let's just put it that way for the parent and child relationship, because I feel I'm trying to figure out how to put this. But if you are trying to make money off of your child, eventually they will call you on it. Maybe not when they're little, but they become a teenager and they want to know of why you as a parent did that. And it's very, very rare that it ever works out. You maybe know one or two total where it has actually worked out for a while until the relationship breaks. So you have to figure out, is a good relationship with your child more important? Or are you just riding on the coattails trying to figure it out the hard way? Because the thing is, you are still then have to be on set with your child. So where is the business for your other clients then, right? And so, and also those parents usually don't have the connections. They don't have the references in order to get those casting services. To be approved, you need letters of references from casting directors. You need to have clients already established. You have to basically prove yourself first. And so if you don't have those connections to get actors into the door, um, then what are you really doing? So I think it takes a lot more. And so it might look very easy, but if you don't have the connections to really open those doors, because 90% of the time or more, usually the agent and the manager that you had for your child actually made sure your child in the first place got those jobs. So there's a lot more things involved in that. And every time I've seen it, I haven't seen it like a ton, but I know what you're saying. There's more and more popping up. They might give you a recommendation of who a good agent is or send you out to an agent, but that's not truly managing. That's more like a referral service, and you're
Right.
kind of paying for that, I guess. But then there's nothing involved afterwards because they just don't have, the casting services, the connections to really actually manage. So they're more like pseudo managing. Um, and then there's also conflict of interest. So if you have a child who looks like their child, guess who they're going to get into the door first? I mean, think about it, right? And so I'm not a huge advocate for doing that because I have never, to this day, never seen working out. And so I had it happen only, I think, one time over all my 18 years where a parent left because they now thought they can manage their child, and their child hasn't worked since. And it's been 3 years. They have the same agent as before. It's just a parent now stepping in. And I think because there's nobody who is there to call you on it when you make a mistake, right? Or to protect you from yourself at times. Because some parents, I think they have really good intentions. Everyone wants their child to do really well, right? And they want their kid to be successful. Um, but if they don't have the knowledge for many years of how to do it right, and you try to figure it out on your own, you're just kind of winging it. And then there's a lot of time lost in between. And you know, if you're trying to manage someone, yeah, you might think, oh, it's 10% more. But if you're not working, it's 10% of nothing, right? So if you have a manager and you make a lot more money and you get it in a lot more projects, it's very well worth the money.
Exactly. It's an investment that you wouldn't have made anyway if you weren't getting any work. So it's a very worthwhile investment
Yeah,
in
and
my
and we
eyes.
only make yeah, and we only make money when you make money. So there's never an upfront fee for any legitimate manager. And so I would do, as a parent, I would do always your research. So when you get approached by an agent or a manager, do your research. Go get IMDb Pro so you can see who do they have, what shows are they in, go to their Instagram, see what projects their clients are in. And really that you can do as a parent. So that part of managing is, just being a responsible parent, I would say. Um, and to really not sell out for your child. So if your child does not want to do it anymore, which happens, right? They might get more into sports. That happens to a lot of sort of teenage boys, right? They're great when they're little and then they're totally into football or baseball. And they just don't want to really be in it anymore. Listen to them, because if you force them, it's tough. I mean, there's documentaries out there, right? Quiet on the Set. Just watch that as a parent. So you can see the signs of what to watch out for. So be a parent, protect your kids. Um, Speak up when you feel something doesn't feel right. Use that as your sort of mommy sense or daddy sense, because if something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. And so that part as a parent, you should definitely do, I think. And
Yeah.
yeah, look at actors' careers. Where did they start? Where they are now? How did they get there? And when you watch those sort of documentaries, I think you can really see those signs. And as long as you do exactly the same as you would do with soccer coaches, with dance competitions, the same things you wouldn't let your children do in that environment, apply that same sense to acting and film, and you're going to be just fine. Um, I think it can be a really safe industry if you just use common sense, like with any other business, and don't get so caught up into the fame, and really look at it. This is a business, but it also has to be fun and it has to be joyful. And you want to surround yourself with people who truly care about you as an actor. Now I'm talking about
Yeah. I
adult
completely
actors
agree.
too. Yeah. And so as an adult actor too, um, don't be like, oh, I'll be whoever you want me to be. This is why it's so important
Right.
that you know who you are intrinsically as yourself, aside from the business, even if the business goes away, because you can work a lot and then not at all. And so if you know who you truly are and you have a full life and fun and friends and other interests in between, then you bring more to the character as well. And so even if times are slow, you still have a great life. And then you bring that into a role versus just waiting by the phone to hope somebody will pick you, then it doesn't matter. And you're more interesting to watch, right? When you have a lot of different skills and skill sets and things like that, it's just yeah, more interesting for
Yeah,
all of us.
and empathy for certain situations that
Mhm.
you might not have had if you were just focused solely on your career and you're not diversifying your life.
Mhm.
But I agree with the parents. It's like I think it's amazing that they are so excited to help their kids. Maybe finding some basic work in the beginning for them so that they can build up a reel or just get some experience on set because, like you said, you're sort of waiting for the phone to ring and nothing might be happening initially, but you still want to get some
Yeah.
experience, and that's okay. But you do need to be picky with what you're putting your child into and not just, like you said, just throwing them out there into any project. You really want to do your research. You want to understand who these directors are, who you're putting, your kids
Right. And
with,
are they
just
legitimate? Are they,
any
you
other
know,
trick.
yeah, and are they legitimate? Because the casting services that you see, they're a lot of times they're not real. They're really not. And you do not know what you're walking into. So we only send you to people that we know they're safe, they're vetted, they have cast a ton of projects. Some of them might be student films, right? But they're from reputable universities. We usually generally don't submit on those. So as a parent, you can do those things, but you as a parent, you won't see the big projects. It's very rare unless they have a hard time finding a role and there might be an open call here and there. But most of the
Right.
things you just don't see. And so you just want to make sure because a lot of the things that you see on Craigslist or, you know, Backstage and those sort of services that are open to the general public, they're just very, very small, very low paid. And again, you just don't know who is casting it and if it's really real or if they're trying to, if it's a scam, you just never know. And so that's why you should have an agent and a manager who help you with that and to keep you safe on that end as well. And you don't want to be stuck on a small, tiny project and missing out on big stuff because you signed on to something. And so we're just here to, keep you safe and make sure your career moves forward with the projects that we and your agent send you. And we work as a team with an agent. So you always want to make sure that before you sign with an agent that and you want to get a manager that you ask the agent, here are my manager options. Who do you like? And vice versa because we have to be a team that gets along and that we have the same vision for you as an actor and so yeah, just kind of build a really good team around you and you're gonna have a really great career in this business and
Yeah.
yeah, so
Absolutely. Well, I love all of your insight. Uh, you speak so well, and you can tell you care so much about your clients and helping people that aren't your clients, even, just wanting to perpetuate a great health of the industry, and make people not afraid of it, but also, like you said, to make sure they're making the right decisions and that they can have a long, prosperous career with the ebbs and the flows. So
great.
thank you so much for being here. Thank you for seeing our clients today, and we will be
Thank
following
you.
up with you soon, Annette.
All right, thank you so much.
All
Always great
right,
seeing
take
you
care.
guys.